I'm looking for the best book recommendations, specifically horror books. So throughout October, I am doing a 10-part vlog series where I am getting recommendations from different places and pitting them against each other in a competition to see where the best recommendations are from. This is episode 3 of 10, and I am getting recommendations from Libro FM. This is an audiobook service, but they have a place where bookstores can have recommendation lists. So that's why I'm going for this. They are not specifically from Libro FM. They're from random bookstores. Who knows if I can trust them, but we're going to find out. If you haven't seen the first 2 episodes, make sure you check out the link in the description so you don't get spoiled on their final rankings. Just a reminder that one book can be from an author I've read and liked from before. One book has to be from an author I have not read from, and the third book can be another author I have not read from before or an author I've read from and disliked. Each book can get up to 50 points for a total of 150 points, and then at the end everything will get ranked based on points earned so far. Libro FM is a great company that gives part of the proceeds to an independent bookstore that you sign up for whenever you make your account. I just think it's a really great place to support. I think it's fun that the bookstores have these recommendations on there. I am going to be making sure that there's at least something that I gave 4 or 5 stars on the list to make it a little bit more personal to me. So let's pick our first book. So I have been scrolling through the lists of recommendations for horror books in the Libro FM playlists, and it's really cool because they are set up by bookstores that work with Libro FM. So I decided that for this one, I'm going to go with a general horror list. I didn't have a bookstore in mind, and I found this list that has My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones, one of my favorite books of last year. It also had You've Lost a Lot of Blood by Eric LaRocca, and then some other things that I really enjoyed. And there was a book by an author that I have read from and enjoyed. So I am going to read Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. I have read Black Sheep, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny, and I overall had a great time with it. These covers are the same color scheme, and they both have an animal just there. So in this one we are following Rory, and she is moving back to her hometown even though she does not want to be there. Her twin sister is going to have a baby, but her husband has left her, so she asks her to move in with her for 6 months and help with everything. So she sublets her apartment in New York City. She takes a leave of absence from her job. Like, she's very committed to being here for her sister. So at the very beginning, she is at this bar talking to this guy that she had not a relationship with in high school, but like he had feelings for her. She knew about it, but it never really turned into anything. So she leaves, goes home, and she hits something with her car. She gets out, and then she was attacked. So she's in the hospital, and they're like, oh, you're lucky to have only gotten some very minor like cuts and scrapes. And she's like, how? This was like the worst pain I've ever been in ever in my life. And after this, she develops this very unnatural strength. She's having reactions to silver, and her body is changing into something than what she is used to. So she's trying to deal with all of this stuff with her body, and then her relationship with her twin sister and trying to be there for her. She also has a strained relationship with her mom, so we see some of that. Romantic relationships coming up, and everything that is going on in her life. I am 119 pages in, and where I am, pretty much everything in the synopsis has happened, obviously more in depth, and like I at this point know a lot more that is going on, and I'm interested to see what this continues to be, because I'm a little concerned that not a lot can really happen without it going too dark. Not dark, but like gory and gross. And I know this is more of like a cozy comedic kind of horror. So I'm enjoying it so far. I am liking it less than I was liking Black Sheep at this point, but I'm excited to continue. I haven't really read much werewolf stuff, so I think that this could be a fun one to continue, and it's very well loved, which is part of why I wanted to pick it up, so I'm excited to get back in. I'm now pretty far into Such Sharp Teeth. I'm 226 pages in, and I'm still liking this. I'm liking a lot of conversations that it's having, and I think going into Rachel Harrison books with the correct expectation is very helpful, because there's not a lot of like really descriptive gross stuff. So with the werewolf stuff, there's some inherently gross things with that. And really, I do want it to go further, but I know to not really expect that in Rachel Harrison books. So I'm not really in it for the more in-depth horror. I think the conversations around trauma, both childhood trauma and things that are happening to you in the moment, and family relationships, and changes that your body goes through in different circumstances. Her sister is pregnant, so they have a lot of talks about that. Like, I'm really liking all of that. The horror is like horror light, and I think that if I didn't know what to expect from Rachel Harrison, I would probably be disappointed. That being said, I'm not obsessed with this. Like, I am enjoying it. I'm having a good time. I'm appreciating a lot of things, but this is just not my favorite kind of story. I absolutely wanted to read it, especially after loving Black Sheep. Like, I am planning on reading all of her backlist and everything. This isn't even over, but I do like Black Sheep more. Like, I think that this would have to have, like, the best ending in the world for it to beat Black Sheep. And these aren't supposed to have, like, a competition with the previous book that I've read from the author. I will say that there's some comparisons that I am picking up on in themes and, like, little comments that are made between this one and Black Sheep that I'm assuming are very personal to Rachel Harrison because they are brought up in multiple books. I'm interested in seeing how things progress because, like, what is going to come of the situation, and I guess there's a little mystery of what attacked her, like, for sure at the beginning. It looks like this is her third book. I'm actually reading the rest later this year with my Patreon, so it'll be fun to get through all of her books this year. I finished Such Sharp Teeth, and while I did like this one, it wasn't a favorite for me. I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars. I think that it had a lot of great commentary and conversations in it, but everything kind of not fell flat, but kind of. I don't know how exactly to describe it, but I feel like I just wanted more. Even though I knew this wasn't going to be the kind of horror that I usually gravitate towards, I still had pretty high hopes for this one. I can appreciate what this was doing, and I had a good time when I was reading it, but stepping away from it, there was nothing that I was truly in love with. The plot was not that exciting to me. I think the commentary is what carried the book for me. And I think that the characters are done well. Like, you do care for what's going on, but it just wasn't my favorite, even though I did like it. I'm excited to continue reading from Rachel Harrison, though, especially because I liked her newer one more than this one. So I'm very glad that I read this one, even though some of the books on this list that kind of made me choose this list are all-time favorites, and this one did not end up being as good for me as those. So if you go on Libro.fm on a desktop, you can filter the playlists by genre. So I did that, and I added horror, and I found this list, which is a book club run by Under the Umbrella. I think their tagline is a queer little bookshop or something like that. And there are 2 books on here that I've read, and both of them I enjoyed. I think I gave them 3 and 4 stars. So not like all-time favorites, but still books that I liked. But there was a book on here that has been on my radar. I'm reading it for Sarah from Wicked Readings Horror Bingo. So I felt like this was a sign. It's already on another TBR. I wanted to read it, so I figured that I should pick it up for this. So I will be reading Patricia Wants to Cuddle by Samantha Allen. This one is interesting because I have seen it listed as horror, but also people like not really including it in horror. So I think it's a blend of literary and horror, which sometimes works very well for me and other times does not. So this is a reality TV book, and I just got to part 2, so I'm 88 pages in, and we are into this reality TV show competition. It's kind of Bachelor-esque, and we are following the 4 final women who are competing, and they are going to a mysterious island in the Pacific Northwest. The show is called The Catch, and they are all there for various reasons. And in part 1, we are just learning about the characters. We're also getting these mixed media kind of things on catchchat.com, and it's people discussing the show in like a forum thing. So it's really cool. There's this aspect to it. And then we're following Renee, Vanessa, Lila Mae, Amanda, and Casey. So Amanda, Renee, Vanessa, and Lila Mae are all contestants, and then Casey is one of the producers. And there have just been different instances of people kind of like spotting somebody, maybe in the distance, maybe a little bit closer. And they're like, oh, that's weird. And that's really it so far. We are just learning about the characters and the reasoning for them being on the show or working for the show, and their thoughts behind the whole like idea of being on reality TV and stuff. We know that Patricia is this character, but I don't really want to read that whole part of the synopsis. So right now, nothing really has happened. There's enough drama within the characters that I'm entertained enough, but I'm not invested in any way. And I'm not struggling with it, but I'm not loving it either. I am now to part 3 of Patricia Wants to Cuddle, which is 147 pages in, and this is fine. The horror is truly non-existent, and like not in a way where I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel like horror because the stuff isn't scary. Like, there's actually nothing. We are just watching this reality TV stuff going on, but like, I don't know, barely. I feel like nothing has happened. We are also getting these blog posts by somebody named Abigail, whose sister has gone missing in the area, and I guess that adds a little bit of a mystery, but I just like, I don't know. This feels fine. Like, everything is so okay. When I'm listening to the audiobook, like, I have no issues, no complaints. But whenever I'm talking about it, I'm like, okay, what's going on? Not much. And like, it's not really anything I care about, but I don't have any issues. So I don't know. It's a really weird thing. I think this is probably going to be a 3-star book. It feels so average to me. I knew that this was going to be like a literary horror book, but the horror has been maybe on the last page or so. And I feel like even then it has been off-page stuff. We are like aware that something is going on, but the way that it's being processed is very removed. So I just don't feel anything towards it. But truly that like has been on 2 pages. So this is going. It will not take me very long to finish this up, which is good. I wish I had better things to report, but like, I'm still enjoying it generally. I have finished Patricia Wants to Cuddle. I think that this was just like very perfectly average. It was fine. It was generally good, but I don't care about anything at the same time. I never felt really into the story. I think that everything that was happening felt very, not specifically surface level, but I felt very removed from the story. I feel like categorizing this as horror both makes sense and doesn't. I think for my personal taste, I wish this would have went really a lot further into the story. For me, I feel like a lot of the stuff that happened felt like it was glossed over with the horror. And like, it wasn't, because there were like some descriptions of things. I don't know. I'm not saying it's not horror, but it just was really not what I was expecting. I wanted it to be darker and grosser. And like, overall, this was just a 3-star read for me. I think if you are interested in it, you should check it out. It's a very, very quick read, but I feel like the way that it wrapped up was just, I don't know, not what I was expecting and not what I really prefer. I wish I had more to say about this one. I wanted more of like the Bigfoot stuff in here. I wanted more of the creatures and things going on. So 3 stars for Patricia Wants to Cuddle. So 30 points. We're not doing too great, but we have one more pick, and I found this list that is just kind of a general horror recommendation list. And there's some stuff on there that I've really enjoyed. Both Mexican Gothic and White Smoke were 4-star reads for me. And then Mary was 4.5 stars. So this is one that I am very interested in because bug stuff really does it for me. So I will be reading Brainworms. I have friends that have given this a very high rating, people that I have similar ratings to, and also people that I don't. So I'm so curious how this one is going to go. I think that this one is going to really like give me the horror that I'm looking for. Like worms. Worms, they get me, and I'm excited. I am to part 2 of Brainworms, so I'm at Gutworms, which is 108 pages in. This is not what I was expecting. I didn't really completely read the synopsis either, So that's partially on me, but based on the cover, I was expecting it to be a lot more about like gross bug stuff. So part 1 is Heartworms, and we are following Frankie. Frankie is trans. This book is very sexual. So Frankie works at I forget specifically what it is, but it is some sort of like, not sex organization, like a club kind of thing, but a turf bombs her workplace and it kind of blows up her life. So there's a lot of commentary on the media with situations like this, and then also dealing with something like this happening to you. And she does this by binge drinking, sleeping with strangers, and pushing away her friends. But then she meets Vanya, who is very mysterious and like elusive to her, and they immediately hit it off, but then they form a very intense dom sub kind of relationship. There's some things I definitely did not think were going to happen in any book that I ever read, but that, I mean, do what you want, but P is not really in my list of, never mind, we're moving on. Anyway, she feels that Vanya is hiding something from her, and then a secret threatens to tear them apart. And then there's conspiracy theories that will happen, and I think that has to do with like these parasite brainworm kind of things. So I don't know how to talk about what I read. I'm not specifically disliking it, but I'm not really liking it either. Right now, it doesn't feel like a horror book because it's just a lot of just like this intense sexual stuff. But at the end of part 1, the like parasite thing started to come up a lot more. There's also been some like gross stuff in here. So, I mean, I don't know. 100% not saying it's not horror because I can tell that it's going to like start ramping up to that. But the first part was something. So it just looks like this is separated into 2. Oh, no. Okay. Well, I'll probably talk to you at the end of part 2. It is a decent amount of the book. And then part 3 is really small, but I feel like that just makes sense with like the story itself. So I'm going to read more, a little scared, but also like intrigued. I am so close to the end of this. Part 2 gets you really close to the end, so I'm like 250 pages in, and I think that this is okay. I think I've kind of realized that I'm not loving the writing style. I don't think it's specifically bad, but there's just something about it that I can't put my finger on that is just like not working for me. There also are parts that are in second person. I also think that this has good conversations in it. I just don't know if I love this kind of storytelling. It's also like kind of focused on like these brainworms, but also I feel like it's not at the same time. I think this book is just like very different than what I was expecting. So I'm enjoying it less than I wanted to. I wanted this to be gross in a different way than it is. Like there's some really, really disturbing things that have happened in this book. Like there's a point where it's in second person and the author is like, you, not the you as in like the character, the you reading this, like take a break if you need because this next part is rough. And I was like, oh, and that happened, and I get it. Like I get it. It just isn't like completely working for me. I think I just had like different expectations for it, and I'm not obsessed with the plot, so like the writing isn't helping anything. I truly like wish I could put my finger on why the writing isn't working for me. Maybe it's switching back and forth between second and third person that is like not helping the situation. But yeah, I don't know. It's generally fine, but it's definitely, I don't think this is gonna get above a 3-star, but it's one that like is keeping my attention while I'm reading. So it's been an interesting time. I don't know. I wish I had more like actual thoughts, but I'm enjoying the conversations. So I finished Brainworms, and I'm gonna give this one 2.5 stars. I feel like by the end, I just didn't really care about what was going on. I'm not someone that feels like I need to relate to the characters or the plot or this whatever to enjoy the book, but I felt disconnected from it. Our main character had a lot of things going on, so I feel like I never really got to know her. I think that the way she interacted with the world and the relationships that she formed with people, specifically Vanya, was interesting, but I feel like I didn't get it. There's some stuff that happened at the end and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but this just like was not my preferred kind of story. It generally did keep my attention, and I thought that it had good discussions on it with how trans people are treated in society and how that could continue to go. But the story itself, I just like found myself really not caring about. I think it's a book that has important things to discuss, but it just was not a favorite for me. So 25 points for Brainworms, which means that this did not go nearly how I wanted it to go. So we have 3.5 stars and 35 points for Such Sharp Teeth, 3 stars and 30 points for Patricia Wants to Cuddle, and 2.5 stars / 25 points for Brainworms, which takes us to a total of 90 out of 150 points. So here's our new leaderboard. We have BookTube and Bookstagram tied for first place, and then Libro.fm is in third place. I love Libro.fm. I do have a code in the description where you can join and you get a free credit, I believe, and then I also get a free credit. I really like the company and the fact that they support local indie stores with every purchase. All of these lists are made by random bookstores that partner with Libro.fm as well. This was one that I was scared about getting recommendations from. I don't think I will continue to get recommendations from Libro.fm, but I will continue using their service in general. Like, they're very separate things. I am very glad that I read all of these though. They were ones that were all on my radar and I wanted to pick up. So I'm glad I got to them. If you made it to the end and want to leave me an emoji to say you're here, you can leave me a worm for Brainworms. Next up, we will be going to Pango Books. So make sure you stick around so you don't miss that. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Let me know in the comments where you think Pango is going to go in the order, and I will see you very soon. Bye.